I'm Ellen Archer, and this is Restless by Design, the place where we talk about recovery from many things, mind body solutions, and the brilliant chaos of a creative mind. Today, we talk about power that doesn't shout, the kind that keeps time, the drumbeat of nonviolent leadership, not just out there, but right here in our own life. Nonviolent leaders don't start with slogans, they start with the nervous system. And we'll explore why calm is not denial, why panic feeds power, and why every successful nonviolent movement trained inner steadiness before outer action. This is not about being perfect. It's about staying human under pressure. Perfection not required. But learning to laugh at your own imperfection, that turns out to be part of how nonviolent leaders stay steady. If you can stay somewhat kind to yourself under pressure, you're already touching the same skill set. There's a lie many of us absorbed without ever agreeing to it. It sounds like this. If I feel okay, I must not understand how bad things are. If I calm down, I'm letting someone off the hook. If I stop panicking, I've stopped caring. A lot of thoughtful, empathic people carry this quietly because caring got fused with alarm. Somewhere along the way, panic got mistaken for responsibility. But panic isn't proof of care. It's a nervous system that has lost its sense of time. And systems without time don't lead well. When a nervous system is flooded, worry, outrage, urgency, something very specific happens. Time collapses. Everything feels immediate. Everything feels dire. Everything feels like it has to be handled right now. Long arcs disappear. You can't think in seasons or movements or generations. You can only think in reactions. This is why panic is so useful to systems that want control. Flooded people are easier to steer. Exhausted people hand over authority quickly. Urgent people confuse movement with effectiveness. Nonviolent leaders noticed this early, not philosophically, practically. They saw that panic feeds the very forces they were trying to stop, so they trained the nervous system first. Here's a simple way to tell whether something is leadership or just noise. Imagine you're responsible for a house full of kids. You know the world is uncertain. You know there are dangers. You know things can go wrong. Would you wake them up every morning listing worst-case scenarios? Would you say everything is broken, nothing is safe, we're probably doomed, have a good day? Of course not. Not because you're lying, but because terror is not education. You'd regulate yourself first so they could think clearly, so they could trust their instincts, so they could grow instead of freeze. That's not denial, that's leadership. That's leadership of your very own mind-body system. Here's something I don't think we say out loud enough. We're actually in the middle of a massive nonviolent movement, and it's barely being named as such. What's remarkable isn't what's happening, it's what isn't. Large numbers of people are choosing not to escalate, not to fracture, not to turn violent, even under pressure. And yet we've been taught to expect violence as a default reaction, even though human history tells a more complex story. Read my Cavewoman book if you want to know more. That's why this moment matters, not because it's loud, but because it's restrained. People are holding the line internally within their mind-body system again and again. Not by agreement, not by force, but by choice. The question isn't whether we learned from earlier nonviolent movements. Of course we did. But we've let those deeper lessons land. Because what I'm seeing now looks less like rebellion and more like remembrance. And those lessons didn't just come from here. They've been landing from nonviolent movements all over the world. What feels underestimated, at least to me, is how deeply people resist being ordered or managed. Not loudly, quietly. Not resistance as rebellion, but discernment and living our humanity at the level of instinct. Calm is not compliance, and this is where nonviolent leadership is most misunderstood. Calm gets mistaken for passivity. Steadiness gets mistaken for agreement. Silence gets mistaken for submission. But calm isn't compliance. Calm is not controllable. You can't control a calm person. A regulated nervous system can hold complexity, tolerate uncertainty, and choose timing instead of urgency. Calm doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means you're not becoming the weapon. Nonviolent power doesn't announce itself. It keeps time. It widens perspective. It allows our full experience to move through us without hollowing us out. Feeling okay anyway isn't betrayal. It's how people stay coherent long enough to matter. This is Restless by Design, and this steady, imperfect, deeply human rhythm is the drumbeat of nonviolent leadership. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep trusting your mind-body intuition.